his station. My station was All India Radio. They didn't even know I was going. So there was no question of being paid by them. So I used to write 2 newspaper reports a day, one for the afternoon papers, one for the night paper. There used to be video magazines then. You know, you didn't have, it was still 91, 92. I mean, the World Wide Web was 5 years ago. That's how antique we are talking about. And so at the end of every test match, I'd write for a magazine, I'd get that translated into Marathi, write for a Marathi magazine, I'd do all this. But my biggest perk was I would host columns for the 3 cricket captains. And it gave me a great opportunity of meeting twice in every test match, of sitting with Alan Border for 15, 20 minutes. And he said something I tell every young Australian cricketer. He said, I always tell them, take care of the runs and the dollars will take care of themselves. And I think that's something every management student, or indeed every practicing manager, must frame and put up. The path to excellence is through runs, not through dollars. And I've seen too many examples of outrageously talented young Indian cricketers who chase the dollar, or given the way the dollar is going, maybe we should say chase the rupee, because it's getting strong, isn't it? Who chased the rupee and lost the runs. And I think in a sense, that to me is what excellence is about. Excellence is chasing your performance goals and letting the result take care of itself. In fact, in Australia, there are a lot of coaches now who are starting to say, make the process of achievement supreme and make the result irrelevant. The Australian cricket coach says that, the Australian swimming coach says that. And the idea being, you perfect the process of performance and don't allow the pressure of the result to choke your performance. And to me, that's a wonderful journey on the path to excellence. Because very often we have no control over what is coming our way. If you're a swimmer in lane 4, if you're an Olympic swimmer, you're on the last 8, right? It's the big day. Maybe there's Ian Thorpe, there's Grant Hackett on one side, there's the Dutch swimmer whose name I can never pronounce on the other side, and there's Michael Phelps on the other side. I'm making an admission here, because every kid in my school quiz knows the name front and back and knows the coach and the coach's wife and the aunt as well. Now there's a swimmer in lane 4. The swimmer has got absolutely no control over what the swimmer in lane 5 is going to do. No control over what the swimmer in lane 1 is going to do. All he has control over is what he is going to do. If he keeps worrying about what the swimmer in the next lane is doing, then he is preventing himself from performing as well as he can. And they believe, and I believe from the little sport that I have seen, that matches are won or lost not because another team plays better, but because a team doesn't play as well as it can. And I have great faith in that theory of making the result irrelevant. Do the best you can and take what you take what you get. And actually, if you see what Australian sports scientists and managers are saying today, it's no different from what your grandmother told you. She told you, karmanyavadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Don't worry about the fruit. And I think that is the path to excellence. And that's something I have seen. You know, it's funny that every time I've done something because I've loved doing it, and I said, yeah, I love doing this. Let me go and do it to the very best I can. You really can't do more than that. Do it to the very best you can. And I've got paid more than I think I should have. I never told them that, but I got paid more than I thought I should have. And every time I've told myself, yeah, this looks like easy money, let me do it. It hasn't happened, or something's gone wrong somewhere. And I keep getting this feeling that there's something telling me, listen, don't worry about the ends. Just do your job as well as you can. And that's something I've believed in for a long time. One of the other problems also of putting the ends before the means is this whole question of ethics. And the more you see in public life what's happening, the more you read the front pages of newspapers today, the more you wonder if that beautiful 6-letter word has been banned by people who have control over our lives. I remember being in this, one of the things I remember in my first year course was Professor Mote one day shutting the MSM1 course and talking to us for half an hour on ethics. I didn't score too well in MSM1, but that thing remained for a long time. And I think adherence to ethics allows you to put the end where it deserves to be and concentrate on the path. When we seek excellence, as I said, very often we seek excellence in results, but I'm convinced that excellence exists in the performance as well, even more so in the preparation. And great teams become great because they excel in their preparation. What you see on the ground is just the end result of all that's gone in before. And that is why they are telling themselves, set yourself performance goals, not result goals. When you set yourself performance goals, when you're batting in the nets, you're still trying to get better. In the nets, you can't score 122 from 108 balls, but you can still bat as well as you want, as well as you can. You can still learn to give every ball 100%. And that's something that I've discovered over the years, that if you give every moment 100%, and then wait for the next moment and say, you know what, this is the moment I wanted to give 100% to, and then the next moment turns up and you say, actually, this was the moment I really wanted to give everything I could, then you find that the little things in life that make the difference between good and great just happen. And sometimes we talk of more than 100%. A lot of my friends in cricket talk about giving 110% and 120%. Sometimes, nowadays even that's not good enough. It's almost like adding V's before VIPs these days. And they want to give 200%. And I tell them, and they don't understand, of course. I say, thank God you didn't meet Professor Moti. Because he would have come and prostrated himself in front of you and said, you cannot score more, you cannot do more than 100%. I tried telling them, I mean, if you had a 1 liter Pepsi bottle, can you fill 2 liters in it? So why are we unhappy with 100%? I mean, we can't give more than 100%, but if we can give 100% every time, then you really can't do more than that. And that is what performance goals are talking about. You give 100% and take the result as it comes to you. And that's what the Quran says as well, doesn't it? That the Lord will help those that give their best every single time, not those that crave something for themselves. And if you give 100% every time and you lose, you can go to sleep aware that you gave your best. If it wasn't good enough, you take your hat off to your opponent and say, well done guys, you're better than me today. There's no shame in saying, well done, you're better than me. You want to beat your opponent, you will do everything it takes ethically to beat that opponent. But if the opponent is better than you, it's not a matter of shame. I mean, if I'm bowling to Adam Gilchrist and he hits me for 34 runs in an over, it's not a matter of shame, is it? But if you know to yourself that you've given 100%, then you sleep well. And say, I'll try harder and come back. That's what the great teams do. The not so great teams say we lost because of pollution, otherwise we could have given 100%. Or as the Indian hockey team loves to say, we lost because of the umpires. Let me tell you some of the things we learned in mathematics when studying early on was A union B and A intersection B. Indian hockey and excellence, if Indian hockey is A and excellence is B, A intersection B is a null set. And the reason is when we lose, we seek excuses. Excellence never seeks excuses. People, tell me one person who sought excellence, who gave an excuse saying, I would have been good, but. The moment someone says, I would have been good, but, it means you're trying to assign the blame for your poor performance on someone else. And that means you're not great already. I mean, Australia came to India in 98, they lost. They lost. I never heard an Australian saying, shit, there was too much pollution. They said, we weren't good enough, we'll come back and try again. 2001, they came close to winning. They said, we'll try again, and they won in 2004. So, to me, excellence is a series of 100%. And I've found that when I cut my teeth in live television. I got into live television without being aware of what live television was, which helped me actually, because I see a lot of people who are told so many things about live television freezing before the camera. I had no idea what live television required me to do. So in a very funny kind of way, I normally love to be prepared, but in a very funny kind of way, being unprepared helped me. And then I found I had to do a fair bit of recorded television programs. And let me tell you, once you've done live television, once you've got that adrenaline flowing in you, once you start to live with the idea that I cannot go wrong, I'm not allowed to go wrong. And then all of a sudden, when you do recorded television, you say, hang on, this is Mickey Mouse, you know, because I can't go wrong here. And the moment you allow yourself, the moment becoming wrong falls into your possibility map, then you do go wrong. And I found that so many times. When I was doing recorded television, I said, yeah, I mean, it's okay. What's the big deal? If I'm wrong, I'll just do it again, right? And one day I did 20 takes. And I said, shit, even Fardeen Khan won't take 20 takes. I mean, I know he tries to act as well, but... This is a movie with Fardeen Khan and Zayed Khan. I'm not going to miss that. I hope it's not a serious movie because I'll be laughing my head off. Anyway, they're trying hard. It's good for them. One of the other things I learned is never grudge anyone their success. Because if you grudge someone their success, they'll grudge yours. So never grudge people their success. But I found that when I was doing recorded television, I was nowhere near as confident or as secure or as alert as when I was doing live television. And I told myself, hang on, this is ridiculous. Because if I'm allowing myself to take more than one take, I'm holding up everybody else. I'm wasting other people's time. I'm wasting tape. I'm wasting cameraman's time. I'm wasting everyone's time. And I told myself, I will never do recorded television again. When I do recorded television, I will treat it as live television. And everything I do will be live television. And I found that just by maximizing that moment and giving 100% even to recorded television, I found I was able to approach recorded television with the same intensity with which I was doing live television. And it helped me enormously. On our school quiz, we do 5 a day. We do 5 episodes a day. And I mean, you got to do 61 in a row. That's the other thing I want to talk about. When you've got to do 61 programs back to back without a break in between, how can you get excited about doing number 39? You know, you get in and say, well, I've done 39. You go back into that old makeup room where the upholstery hasn't been changed since you started doing the quiz when you were younger and had more hair on your head. And you say, I've done 39. And you look up and say, 22 more. And you say, no, 40 was the only one I ever wanted to do. And then you're able to give 100% to that one. And then, don't worry, it's okay. You know, if you've been in cricket and cell phones have had a very deep relationship over the years. So don't worry. It's all right. Don't worry. So feel free. Don't worry. There's the other thing you learn when you do live television. If you've got people standing 4 feet away from you saying nasty things about you, and you've still got to look into that camera and smile and say, you know what, this is the best place I wanted to be. So don't worry. It won't affect me. So I found that I could add value to recorded television by giving even recorded television 100%. And this little pride, this giving 100% in everything, when I got into writing, when I got into journalism first, and I've never actually worked in a newspaper, but when I got into journalism, I found that there were a lot of people who come through the copy desk, where they started off as sub-editors and then got into going on cricket tours, whereas I had come from advertising. And I'd come from advertising, a school which says that every word that you write must count, because it's not going away, it's meant to sell a product. So unless every word is important, your writing is not good enough. And I was in awe. I was in awe of the copywriters in Rediffusion. I'd go up there and I'd just look at them like I might look at a Gavaskar or Vishwanath. I was in awe of them. And I found on one of my first tours, someone I knew for a while, we were just sitting and talking, and I said, yeah, this is what I wrote today. And he said, yeah, I just sent some shit. I said, why? He said, just one day, the whole tour. I said, didn't your name go on that article? He said, yeah, so what? I said, but if your name goes on that article, how can you send something that you don't agree with, or that you don't think is the best you could do? And he looked at me as if it had come from Mars.